This is a powerful and gripping narrative. I have translated the text into English, maintaining the dramatic tone, the suspense, and the emotional weight of Sarah's journey. I abandoned my husband and my 6-year-old daughter for a promise of luxury in the United States. I thought I would be a queen in Miami, but within 48 hours, I became nothing more than material for a clandestine organ clinic. Listen to how a plea for help at a traffic light changed my destiny. A true story of greed, terror, and the forgiveness I didn't deserve. Hello, I'm glad you stopped for a moment to listen to me. Sit down here with me, grab a cup of coffee, because what I have to tell you today isn't just a story. It's a piece of my heart that I finally had the courage to tear out. Have you ever felt like the life you have is too small for the size of your dreams? Have you ever looked at your husband, a good man, and felt anger because he couldn't give you the jewelry you saw in magazines? My name is Sarah. Today, at 65 years old, the reflection in my mirror shows me a woman at peace. But if you had looked at me 30 years ago, you would have seen a woman consumed by a fire called greed. I lived in a quiet little town where the sun seemed to shine less than my desire to escape. James, my husband, was a man with rough working hands and a heart of gold. He treated me like a queen, but I wanted the throne, the palace, and the world at my feet. Many people see me today and say, "Sarah, you are a saint, an exemplary grandmother." They don't know that I was capable of looking into my 6-year-old daughter's eyes, hearing her cries piercing the air, and turning my back to go after a man I barely knew. I didn't just leave. I sold my soul for a first-class ticket to the United States. And what I found there, well, it almost cost me my life in a clinic where the organs of people like me were worth more than our existence. Back then, I was a manicurist. Every nail I painted, every cuticle I trimmed was like a reminder of what I didn't want to be. I looked at the wealthy clients and thought, why them and not me? James would come home exhausted, with a smile and a small gift, sometimes a chocolate, sometimes a flower picked along the way, and I felt contempt. I called his love mediocrity. I was young, beautiful, and dangerously ambitious. That's when he appeared at the salon accompanying a client, Mark. He spoke perfect English, but with that accent of someone who ate at restaurants whose names I couldn't even pronounce. He looked at me not as a manicurist, but as a diamond in the rough. "Sarah," he said, "a woman like you is dying in this place. In Miami, you would own a chain of spas." Those words entered my blood like sweet poison. I began meeting Mark in secret. Not to betray my husband physically, I thought I was above that, but to betray my family with promises of a life James could never give me. Mark showed me photos of mansions in Florida, silver cars, parties where the champagne never ended. He said he loved me, that I was his Brazilian muse, and that he would take me to the top. James began to notice my distance. "Sarah, what's happening? Where is your head?" he would ask. And I lied. I said it was exhaustion. Until the first big argument exploded. We were short on rent money, but I had spent what we saved on an expensive leather suitcase for my secret trip. James cried in frustration. And at that moment, instead of hugging him, I felt disgust. Disgust for our poverty. Disgust for that little house that smelled like detergent and struggle. Mark gave me the ultimatum. "The ticket is bought. It's now or never. Leave this life behind and come be the queen you were born to be." I packed my bags in the middle of the night, but here is what no one knows. Before leaving, I took James's wedding ring, which he had left on the table to wash the dishes, and threw it in the trash. It was my final act of cruelty. I told my daughter, little Emily, that Mommy was going to find a castle for her. She hugged me so tight I could feel her heartbeat against my chest. I detached her tiny hands with a coldness that haunts me to this day. James warned me at the door. "If you walk out that door trading what we have for an illusion, don't expect to find your way back." I laughed. I got into the taxi heading for the airport to Miami without looking back. I thought I was going to paradise. Little did I know that in less than 48 hours, I would be locked in a dark room without a passport, listening to the sound of scalpels being sharpened in the room next door. Understood. Let's dive into the heart of this plot. Prepare yourself, because from here on, the dreamlike atmosphere turns into a suffocating suspense. When I landed in Miami, the hot, humid Florida air hit my face, and for a second, I felt powerful. Mark was there, in an impeccable suit and a luxury car that gleamed under the airport lights. He kissed me and said, "Welcome to your new life, Sarah." I was radiant. I looked at the palm trees and thought, "Goodbye, poverty. Goodbye, James." But the drive started getting strange. We left the neon lights of South Beach and entered more isolated areas, surrounded by swamps and deserted roads. When I asked where we were going, Mark's smile changed. It was no longer the smile of the charming lover. It was the smile of a hunter who had just cornered his prey. "It's a private property, Sarah. We need privacy to handle your training," he said in a frigid voice. We arrived at a house with modern architecture, beautiful on the outside, but surrounded by high walls and barbed wire. As soon as I entered, Mark held out his hand. "Your passport and your phone, now." I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but a massive man appeared behind him. Fear, that cold chill that crawls up your spine, hit me full force. I handed them over. In that moment, I ceased to be Sarah, the dreamer, and became just a number. I was shoved into a small room in the basement. There were no windows, just a steel door with a gap at the bottom. The palace was a prison. For the first few hours, I screamed until my throat bled. No one answered. But I heard, oh, how I heard. Through the thin walls came sobs in various languages, prayers in Spanish, muffled screams in Russian, and the deadly silence that followed. Mark appeared at the door gap the next day. He didn't call me queen. He said I had a $50,000 debt for the trip, and that the only way to pay it back would be by cooperating with the clinic. I didn't understand what he meant until I saw, through a security guard's oversight, a gurney being wheeled down the hall with a pale, unconscious woman with bandages on the side of her abdomen. My blood ran cold. They didn't want my work as a manicurist. They wanted what was inside me. Are you feeling the weight of this story? What greed can do to a person is terrifying. If you want to know how Sarah managed to escape this deadly trap, leave a like now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Don't miss the conclusion of this life lesson. Comment below. Would you forgive someone who abandoned you for a false dream? The days turned into a blur of terror. I received only a bowl of thin soup and 1 glass of water a day. The hunger was great, but the thirst was worse. I began to lick the condensation dripping from the metal pipe on the ceiling. I prayed. My God, how I prayed. I asked James for forgiveness in my thoughts. I called out my daughter Emily's name until I lost consciousness. On the 5th day, my body gave out. I collapsed. The heat was unbearable, and the dehydration made me delirious. I saw James's face calling me, saying dinner was ready. When I woke up, I was no longer in my cell room. I was on a gurney, in an environment that smelled of alcohol and iodine. It was a clandestine clinic set up inside that property. A man in a white mask looked at me with indifference. "She is too weak," he said in English to Mark. "If we operate now, she won't survive the procedure, and we lose the material." They decided to transfer me to a larger medical unit in an urban center, where they had equipment to stabilize me before using me. I was placed in a black van with windows tinted so thick that no one could see who was inside. I was lying on the floor of the van, tied up. But fate, or perhaps God, decided to give me one last chance. The van jolted through the streets of Miami. I could hear the sound of traffic, the horns, life happening outside while mine was about to be erased. The driver was impatient, swearing loudly. Suddenly, the van stopped abruptly. A long red light. I used all my strength, every drop of adrenaline left in my weakened body. I rolled to the side and pressed my forehead against the dark glass. I saw, just inches away from me, a convertible stopped alongside us. A young couple, laughing, listening to music. They looked so happy, just like I thought I would be. I couldn't scream. My voice was a raspy whisper. So I started banging my head against the glass. Thump, thump, thump. The woman in the car next to us looked over, puzzled by the sound coming from the luxury van. For a second, our eyes locked through the dark film. I widened my eyes, moved my lips forming the words, "Help me," and made a stay calm signal with the hand that was slightly loose. She turned pale. Her husband tried to accelerate when the light turned green, but she grabbed his arm and pointed to the van. They began to follow us. The van driver noticed the pursuit and started driving erratically, turning into alleys, trying to lose them. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would explode. "Please, don't give up on me," I pleaded in silence. The van stopped behind a filthy warehouse. Mark was there, furious. "What happened?" he shouted. The driver explained that he thought they were being followed. They grabbed me by the arms, dragging me inside. I was thrown onto a cold metal gurney. The clandestine doctor was already preparing the anesthesia. I saw the needle glinting under the yellow light. "Goodbye, Emily. Goodbye, James," I thought, closing my eyes. That was when the sound of screeching tires and sirens drowned out everything. The couple hadn't just followed the van. They had called the police and provided the location in real time. The crash of the door being kicked in was like the sound of angels arriving. "Police! Don't move!" Chaos ensued. Shots were fired. Commands echoed. I saw Mark try to run, but he was tackled and handcuffed on the dirty floor. A young officer approached me, covered my body with a thermal blanket, and said the words I will never forget. "You are safe now." I spent 2 weeks in a hospital under embassy custody. I was physically destroyed, but my soul was in tatters. The police discovered that this network was responsible for the disappearance of dozens of immigrants. I was one of the few who survived to tell the tale. The consul asked me, "Sarah, do you want asylum or do you want to go back?" I didn't hesitate. "I want my life back, if it still exists." The flight back was the longest of my life. I didn't have the jewelry Mark promised. I didn't have luxury suitcases. I had only my hospital clothes and a shame that weighed more than lead. When the plane landed in Brazil, my legs were shaking. I walked through the arrival gate, and from afar, I saw a tall man with rough working hands holding a little girl in his arms. James. I fell to my knees right there in the middle of the airport. People passed by and didn't understand, but I was crying a cry of 30 years of regret. I crawled to his feet and begged, "Forgive me. I was blind. I was selfish. I don't deserve you, but please, just let me look at you." James leaned down. He didn't scream. He didn't humiliate me. He simply put little Emily on the ground, hugged me, and said, "I said if you left, there would be no way back to my life. But I lied, because my love for you is greater than your stupidity." Today, at 65, I look at this story, and I understand. True wealth isn't in what you acquire, but in what you decide not to lose. Greed promises you the world, but its goal is to leave you with nothing. If you have someone who loves you today, value them, because the glass that separates the dream from the nightmare is much thinner than you imagine. Did this story touch your heart? I hope my mistake serves as a lesson for you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more real accounts, and comment which city you are watching me from. Your interaction helps this message reach more people who might be being deceived by false promises. Stay with God.